Welcome to this week's edition of Bob versus Willie. He's Bob Gerson. I'm Willie Witten. This is the show where we try to come up with reasonable opinions about which songs, which artists, which music is the best. Contrary to what his shirt says, I'm usually the one that's right, but I figure Bob's a pretty good guy. Might as well let him have his day. Bob, tell everyone what we're talking about this week.
We're going to talk about the top 10 Robin Trower songs.
You want to lead us off?
Sure. For number 10, I chose Man of the World from Twice Removed from Yesterday, his first solo album in 1973. Now, I like this album because it's an album that introduces Dewar singing, and he was the bass player and the singer, and he's got a voice that became the voice of the 1970s. Yet at the same time, he's one of those names that people really don't know.
Right. You're right, because you think of Robin Trower. That's the guy whose name is on the label. That's the big name. My number 10, I've got Ballerina. And if I'm correct, I believe that's also off that album. I believe it's the closing song. People might find that a weird choice. I thought it was a really nice, wonderful song. Dare I say pretty even. And then my number 9 is Twice Removed from Yesterday. Who do you got for 9 and 8? What songs?
Well, first I have to comment on Ballerina. I think that's probably the worst song out of all his albums. For me, number 9 is Lady Love from 1994's classic Bridge of Sighs. And it's a driving song. I just like it. And number 8 is Shame the Devil from for Earth Below. And it became Trower's second gold album. And Shame the Devil got extensive album play on FM radio all during the 1970s.
I'm getting ready to throw out my 8 and 7, but after the Ballerina comment, I'm a little bit gun shy. Number 8, I've got Confessing Midnight. And number 7 is I Can't Stand It. I like those songs. They both, to me, are examples of Trower playing a little more punchy, sort of onto the rock side of the blues rock, as opposed to some of his other songs, which are very sometimes lengthy, almost lyrical guitar sessions. Bob, what do you got for your next couple?
Well, for number 7, I chose Poor Mohammed, which is actually off of Trower's last album with Procol Harum, Broken Barricades. And he wrote the song, and it's a pretty good guitar solo on it. And it became one of my favorite albums from 1971. Then for number 6, I have Day of the Eagle, once again from Bridge of Sighs. And Day of the Eagle had a number of different meanings. And it was a very famous battle in the Battle of Britain, where the tide turned and Germany was no longer defeating Britain. And that's pretty much it.
Bob, that's a good knowledge drop. I didn't know that about the song. I might have, maybe I should have done a little more research. My number 6 is It's Only Money. And my number 5 is Daydream. Daydream, I find to be a better version in a way of Ballerina. It's got some different changes. But then again, I don't know if that's saying all that much, considering you think it's his worst song of all time. So, Bob, what do you got for some of these next ones?
Well, you seem to pick slower tempo songs. That's the thing. It's like I like the faster driving ones. Just Another Day is my number 5, and that's from 2007, where he collaborated with Jack Bruce on the Seven Moons album. And number 4 is 20th Century Blues. And that was released in 1994. And it was a return to the power trio after he'd been touring with regrouping of Procol Harum. And then he did some work with Peter Gabriel after that. So he got back to his original power trio.
So you were mentioning that my songs are a little bit of the slower types. I have my top 4 coming up. I think this is where you're going to see a gear shift here. My number 4 is Bridge of Sighs off that same album. And my number 3 is The Fool in Me. That's very up-tempo. That's very punchy. Just the collaboration between the drums, the bass, and the guitar. It's just a throbby, thick, heavy song, both off the Bridge of Sighs album. Bob, who do you got as we get near the top here?
Well, Uh, are we on number 4 or number 3?
I think for you, it's going to be number 3.
Okay, Long Misty Days, and that's off Robin Trower's 4th album, 3rd gold record in 1976, and that is another song that propelled Dewar's voice into the mainstream. And number 2 is Two Rolling Stoned off the 2nd album, or Bridge of Sighs, once again, and it was his top 10 first gold record.
Yeah, number 2, I've got the same thing that you have in that slot, Two Rolling Stoned. And then for my number 1, which is a song that it looks like you're not going to have on your list at all, and it's sort of as confusing to me, Little Bit of Sympathy. What's your number 1 song, Bob?
Well, my number 1 song is actually Bridge of Sighs from Bridge the album. And the reason why is, to me, the just the melody of that song is something that I can't get out of my mind. And then when I read the description of what the Bridge of Sighs is supposed to be, or was,
right,
it was a bridge connecting the prison to the Inquisitor's room. And there was a hallway that went between them. So when you went to your execution, you walked across the Bridge of Sighs.
Yeah, exactly. It's got a
good... and that melody of the song definitely conveys that, this deep, disturbing sound. And it just is, I don't know, it just, I can't get it out of my mind.
I mean, so I like that song as well. It does occupy my number 4 spot on the list. I think some people might take a look at what I did at the top of my list, and my top 4 songs are all off the Bridge of Sighs album. I think we're sort of in agreement with how we think about that album, because if that album has 8 songs, I think between you and I, our 2 lists have covered 6 of them, right? Day of the Eagle is Bridge of Sighs. Isn't Lady Love off that too? I think it is. So of 8 songs, we have pretty much picked 6 that are off Bridge of Sighs. I have no qualms or problems or issues with saying that I think by far that is his best solo work. And if it's not the Bridge of Sighs album, then the stuff that I also really love that I didn't include here was I love a couple of his contributions, even though he didn't get writing credits on them, to the first 3 Procol Harum albums. And I didn't include any of them because those are penned by Gary Brooker. So I wanted to keep it in the vein of Trower. But I think that besides his first 3 solos, the rest of his favorite work to me is the early stuff with Procol Harum. You picked Poor Muhammad. That's a Procol Harum.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. And there was more than one song on that album that I liked. And the thing is, it's like after that, it was, as soon as I heard Robin Trower was putting out a solo album, I mean, I immediately became interested because of the fact that I remembered him from Procol Harum. And I was very disturbed when he left Procol Harum.
Well, I think part of the reason why he left is, being the musician that he is, I feel, and some will disagree with me as well, Procol Harum is primarily a Brooker vehicle. You know, even though Trower's contributions are huge and they are completely irremovable from the quality of some of those songs, I felt like the driving force in that band was Gary Brooker. And we've seen so many times with different bands, when you get like a 1-2 punch of people who are really good, oftentimes sort of the second fiddle splits off.
Well, it's like Quicksilver Messenger Service. I really loved John Chiapani's guitar playing. And when I went to go see them in person, he was no longer with the band. So it was like the whole purpose of why I went to go see him wasn't there anymore. They still sang the songs, but there weren't the great guitar solos.
Yeah. But I think we both agree that for just pure guitar playing and the ability to just do some of these long, expansive passages, Robin Trower is pretty impressive.
Definitely. I mean, he was called the second coming of the white Hendrix because of his style. I mean, it didn't totally duplicate and copy Hendrix. It was uniquely his own, but you just felt that vibe.
He was very vibey. Bob, I'd talk Trower all day with you, Procol Harum, or whoever the heck, but here's the thing. We are out of time. I'm looking at your shirt. Of course I'm right. I'm Bob. Survey says my list was still better. What do you know? That's all the time we have for this week. For Bob Gersten, I'm Willie Witten. This has been Bob vs. Willie, and we will catch you next time.